All right, so we are live in both places. Trina Hager, hey, let's waboo. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. All right, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday, Shayla, Mom, Trina. Hey, girls. Hey. Oh, is it working? No, that was my finger. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to put this. Yahuwah is one. May we all be filled with the great spirit, Yahuwah. Hallelujah. You're welcome. You're welcome for the calendar. Yeah, use the I shared before with y'all the app. I'll share the link again for Android and iPhone. It's a couple of them y'all can use. I just have a special liking for the Moon app because of some of the other things that I do, but it just happened to have that in there with the the zodiac signs on the days and stuff, and I thought it was really useful. But there is another app. I'll share another one that I have. It's a little more detailed and in a way it's a little more detailed for that particular thing. I'll share it and I give a little blurb about it just so I think it might be helpful for those that are just starting off while they're trying to understand things a little bit. Okay. I'll share that one. It'll kind of help you get acclimated to the the signs for the different days, and actually when it posts it, you can put it in full calendar form, but you can also look at it by the days. Like it will just show today, and by default it's set to show just for today, and for today it will say whether it's in your sign or not. So it'll be 2 or 3 days depending on which sign it is, what part of the month it is, where it'll be 2 or 3, and it'll I think it'll be helpful for those that are still trying to just kind of grasp things. All right, y'all. So happy Wednesday. It is January the 5th, 2022. Day 346 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And today, y'all, we're gonna be I skipped the whole what you call it. Probably because I didn't put it up here. Okay. Let me go back. Hold on, y'all. Make sure I get my number count right. 2, 3, 0, 1, 4. Okay. It's year 3, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 1014. Okay. We're gonna be reading 4th Maccabees chapter 4 and 5, and we're gonna finish up. I think, chapter 13 of Walk of the Spirit, the Walk of Power. All right, y'all. Let's see. Bring this up. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the Shema, or a call for wholehearted commitment. Good day, Nikki. Good day. Hey, girl. Hey. All right. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear Yahuwah your God as long as you live. If you obey all these decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is God alone. And you must love Yahuwah, your God, with all your heart and all your soul and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves to Him wholeheartedly. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I'm giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road and when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Yahuwah your God will soon bring you into the land that He swore to give you when He made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget Yahuwah your God, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear Yahuwah your God and serve Him. When you take an oath, you must only use His name. You must not worship any of the gods of the neighboring nations, for Yahuwah your God, who lives among you, is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and He will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test Yahuwah your God as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of Yahuwah your God, all the laws and decrees He has given you. Do what is right and good in Yahuwah's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that Yahuwah swore to give to your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as Yahuwah said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah, our God, has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt with His strong hand. Yahuwah did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt and Pharaoh and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so He could give us this land He had sworn to give to our ancestors. And Yahuwah, our God, commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear Him so He can continue to bless us and preserve our lives as He has done to this day. For we will be counted righteous when we obey all the commands Yahuwah our God has given us. All right, beautiful people. Ali, shalom, shalom. All right, y'all. Head on over here to the book of 4 Maccabees. Y'all praying in tongues? Y'all using y'all language? Y'all doing at least 24 minutes? I mean, you should do more and should be building, but at least start with 24. And we only pick 24 because 24 hours in a day we figure we tie the portion of the daytime given to us back to Him. Right? That's the only reason why. Nothing super spiritual. You should be. If you're not, you hadn't gotten into it yet, they're not here. It's a couple people that emailed me. They're actually doing it and things are happening. I wanted to address something because I didn't respond to their email. I'm waiting for them to come in, wait for them to say something. When I see them both here or one or the other, I'll say something. All right. 4th Maccabees, chapter 4. For a certain man named Shimon, who was in opposition to Onyahu, who once held the high priesthood for life and was an honorable and good man, after that, by slandering him in every way, he could not injure him with the people, went away as an exile with the intention of betraying his country. Whence coming to Apollonius, the military governor of Aram and Phoenicia and Cilicia, he said, having good will to the king's affairs, I am come to inform you that infinite private wealth is laid up in the treasuries of Jerusalem, which do not belong to the temple, but pertain to King Seleucus. Apollonius, acquainting himself with the particulars of this, praised Shimon for his care of the king's interests, and going up to Seleucus, informed him of the treasure, and getting authority about it, and quickly advancing into our country with the accursed Shimon and a very heavy force. He said that he came with the commands of the king that he should take the private money of the treasure. And the nation, indignant at this proclamation, and replying to the effect that it was extremely unfair that those who had committed deposits to the sacred treasury should be deprived of them, resisted as well as they could. But Apollonius went away with threats into the temple, and the priests, with the women and children, having supplicated Elohim to throw his shield over the holy despised place. And Apollonius, going up with his armed force to the seizure of the treasure, there appeared from heaven angels riding on horseback, all radiant in armor, filling them with much fear and trembling. And Apollonius fell half dead upon the court, which is open to all nations, and extended his hand to heaven, and implored the Evarim, or the Hebrews, with tears to pray for him and propitiate the heavenly host. For he said that he had sinned so as to be consequently worthy of death, and that if he were saved, he would celebrate to all men the blessedness of the holy place. On Yahu, the high priest, induced by these words, although for other reasons, anxious that King Seleucus should not suppose that Apollonius was slain by the device of men and not by divine punishment, prayed for him. And he, thus being unexpectedly saved, departed to manifest to the king what had happened to him. But on the death of Seleucus the king, his son Antiochus Epiphanes succeeds to the kingdom, a man of haughty pride and terrible, who having disposed on Yahu from the high priesthood, appointed his brother Yacon to be high priest, who had cut a covenant if he would give him his authority and pay yearly 3,603 score talents. And he committed to him the high priesthood and rulership over the nation. And he both changed the manner of living of the people and perverted their civil customs into all iniquity. So remember what he's doing. He's pretty much giving you background. He's going over what we've already read in these first few books of Maccabees, right? Okay, he's kind of he's tying everything together. And he committed to him the high priesthood and rulership over the nation. And he both changed the manner of living of the people and perverted their civil customs into all iniquity, so that he not only erected a gymnasium on the very citadel of our country, but neglected the guardianship of the temple, at which divine vengeance, being grieved, instigated Antiochus himself against them. For being at war with Ptolemy in Mitzrayim, he heard that on a report of his death being spread abroad, the inhabitants of Jerusalem had exceedingly rejoiced, and he quickly marched against them. And having subdued them, he established a decree that if any of them lived according to the Torah of his country, he should die. And when he could by no means destroy his decrees to the obedience to the Torah of the nation, but saw all his threats and punishments without effect, for even women, because they continued to circumcise their children, were flung down a precipice along with them, knowing beforehand of the punishment. When, therefore, his decrees were disregarded by the people, he himself compelled by means of tortures every one of this race by tasting forbidden meats to abjure the Yehudic belief, or the Hebrew belief. The next chapter, 4th Maccabees chapter 5. The tyrant Antiochus, therefore, sitting in public state with his assessors upon a certain lofty place, with his armed troops standing in a circle around him, commanded his spear bearers to seize every one of the Evarim, or the Hebrews, and to compel them to taste swine's flesh and things offered to idols. And should any of them be unwilling to eat the accursed food, they were to be tortured on the wheel and so killed. And when many had been seized, a foremost man of the assembly, an Ivrit by the name of Eleazar, a priest by family, by profession a lawyer and advanced in years, and for this reason known to many of the king's followers, was brought near to him. And Antiochus, seeing him, said, I would counsel you, O man, before your tortures begin, to taste the swine's flesh and save your life. For I feel respect for your age and gray head, which since you have had so long, you appear to me to be no philosopher in retaining the superstition of the Yahudim. For therefore, wherefore, since nature has conferred upon you the most excellent flesh of this animal, do you loathe it? It seems senseless not to enjoy what is pleasant, yet not disgraceful, and from nations of sinfulness to reject the boons of nature. And you will be acting, I think, still more senselessly if you follow the vain conceits about the Torah. So remember, at this time, they're trying to get him. Notice the pattern. It always happened. Remember when I reminded you yesterday about Balaam and Balak and him trying to curse them, but he realized Israel can only curse themselves. Think about them trying to curse themselves by going against Torah. Now we know a little bit more about the body. We can understand spiritually what was really being done by the stories that are conveyed by them physically trying to get them to eat swine's flesh and defile their temple, right? This is literally the living temple. They're trying to get them to defile it, and they always try to get them to curse themselves, to defile themselves by eating something forbidden by Torah, right? Okay. Notice the pattern all the way through. When we go through next time, I'm gonna start bringing a few more things to the surface if that we didn't before in previous readings. Okay. For wherefore, since nature has conferred upon you the most excellent flesh of this animal, do you loathe it? Still talking about the pig. It seems senseless not to enjoy what is pleasant, yet not disgraceful, and from notions of sinfulness to reject the boons of nature. And you will be acting, I think, still more senselessly if you follow the vain conceits of, I'm sorry, if you follow the vain conceits about the truth. I said Torah last time, but truth is Torah, Torah is truth. Okay. And you will, moreover, be despising me to your own punishment. Will you not awake from your trifling philosophy and give up the folly of your notions and regaining understanding worthy of your age, search into the truth of an expedient course, and reverencing my kindly admonition, have pity upon your own years. For bear in mind that if there be any power which watches over this belief of yours, it will pardon you for all transgression of the Torah which you commit through compulsion. While the tyrant incited him in this manner to eating the swine's flesh, which is against the Torah, Eleazar begged permission to speak. And having received power to speak, he thus began to deliver himself. We, O Antiochus, who are persuaded that we live under a divine Torah, consider no compulsion to be so forcible as obedience to that Torah. Wherefore we consider that we ought not in any point to transgress the Torah. And indeed, were our Torah, as you suppose, not truly divine, and if we wrongly think it divine, we should have no right, even in that case, to destroy our sense of the belief. Think not eating the unclean, then a trifling offense. For transgression of the Torah, whether in small or great matters, is of equal moment. Let me read it again. Think not eating the unclean, then a trifling offense. For transgression of the Torah, whether in small or great matters, is of equal moment. For in either case, the Torah is equally slighted. But you deride our philosophy as though we live irrationally in it. Yet it instructs us in temperance, so that we are superior to all pleasures and lusts. And it exercises us in manliness or strength and courage. That's what I mean by manliness here. Levon, blessings. Tiffany, hey girl, hey. For in either case, the Torah is equally slighted, but you deride our philosophy as though we live irrationally in it. Yet it instructs us in temperance, so that we are superior to all pleasures and lusts. And it exercises us in manliness, so that we cheerfully undergo every grievance. And it instructs us in justice, so that in all our dealings we render what is due. And it teaches us pity, so that we worship the only Elohim becomingly. Wherefore it is that we eat not the unclean. For believing that the Torah was established by Elohim, we are convinced that the creator of the world, in giving his Torah, sympathizes with our nature. Those things which are convenient to our souls, he has directed us to eat. But those which are repugnant to them, he has interdicted. But tyrant, but tyrant like But tyrant like, you not only force us to break the Torah, but also to eat, that you may ridicule us as we thus profanely eat. But you shall not have this cause of laughter against me, nor will I transgress the sacred oaths of my forefathers to guard the Torah. No, not if you pluck out my eyes and consume my entrails. I am not so old and void of manliness I am not so old and void of manliness, but that my rational powers are youthful in defense of my belief. Now then, prepare your wills and kindle a fiercer flame. Oh my goodness. Oh, we talk like this today. Listen. Now then, prepare your wills and kindle a fiercer flame. I will not so compassionate my old age. Yeah. I will not so compassionate my old age as on my account to break the Torah of my country. I will not believe you. No, I'm sorry. Belie. Belie. My bad. I will not belie you, O Torah, my instructor, or forsake you, O beloved temperance. I will not put you to shame, O philosopher, reason, or deny you, O honored priesthood, and silence. I'm sorry. Let me go back. I just got to start over. Okay. Now then, prepare your wills and kindle a fiercer flame. I will not so compassionate my old age as on my account to break the Torah of my country. I will not belie you, O Torah, my instructor, or forsake you, O beloved temperance. I will not put you to shame, O philosopher reason, or deny you, O honored priesthood and science of the Torah. Mouth, you shall not pollute my old age, nor the full stature of a perfect life. My Father shall receive me pure, not having equaled before your compulsion, though unto death. For over the wicked you shall tyrannize, but you shall not lord it over my thoughts about the belief, either by your arguments or through your deeds. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was good. That was good. Elazar was a real G. He said, I done lived my whole life holy. You think I'm about to give that up over a piece of swine's flesh? Mm-mm. I'm gonna go to my forefathers, pure and holy, kindle a fiercer flame. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right, y'all. Okay. Okay, so I highlighted it in blue this time. Okay. Okay, so we pause in Walk of the Spirit, Walk of Power in chapter 13, almost towards the end. And it's the section that says the fast that God chooses. Okay. I was checking for a couple different people. Okay, just to let them know that I got their email. Okay. And if y'all are praying in tongues and y'all starting to run into roadblocks, not necessarily roadblocks, but things are starting to come up or happen supernaturally that are starting to freak you out just a little bit, remember, we talked about this. You got to go back to the video. I forget the title of it, but it's the video where I shared about my sister. It wasn't that long. It was a few days ago. I just don't remember the title that I put in there. Um, but I'll remind you and I'll put the link to it so you can kind of go back. It was the video where I shared about my sister, where she said when she started praying in tongues, when we were doing like the all nights of prayer, all hell started breaking loose for her, right? So what's happening is, you know, when you go fill your gas tank up, if you let it get low, if you let it get too low, there's like sediments and debris and stuff down at the bottom of the tank. It starts kicking that up, right? And so all of that stuff has to come out. Like when you cut on the water hose in the summertime, and that hot water that come out first before it get to the cool, it's kind of like that. All of that stuff needs to come out. That's what's happening to y'all, right? So, but also meaning things that have been buried for a long time that may need to be dealt with. It could cause a not overwhelming, but a flood of tears to come, and it just hits you out of nowhere, and you don't understand why you're crying or you're weeping. Keep praying. Don't stop praying. You have to get through that, right? Just keep going. I'm telling you, it's working on the inside of you. Whatever your experience has been in life, whatever you have dealt with, that's what's coming up on the inside of you. One of them, could possibly be fears, right? It could possibly be fear that needs to be dealt with first. So it may seem that some scary things, so to speak, may start happening to you. It's trying to deal with that. If you find yourself in that place, stop running. You could possibly start having dreams where you're being chased. It's some unfounded fear that you have that you need to stop and turn around and face it. Stop running, turn around and face it. That's why it's coming up. Keep going, keep praying, right? Okay. A couple people emailed me. I didn't respond to them yet. That's why I was waiting for them to come in. I haven't responded yet because it's going to take me a little while because it's very detailed. And one of them have actually added fasting while they're praying. And remember, we're still in the fasting chapter. Marie, Betwabu. I got your email. Keep praying. I haven't responded to it yet. I tend to, while I'm on the treadmill, I tend to look at my email. So I figured my response is gonna probably be a little bit longer. So I read it, I saw it. I'm gonna respond to it a little bit later, along with a couple of other ones that I got that are longer. I can tell y'all have, based on what y'all are telling me, I can tell y'all are praying in tongues, right? And the one I was just telling you about, she has actually added fasted. She said, "Let me tell you what I'm doing." She said, "I'm in a fasted state." When she said that, I'm like, okay, because I'm like, "Oh, why is you getting manifestations like that so quick?" She told me at the bottom, "Let me tell you what I'm doing." I added fasting. So she's been fasting for a couple days, right? And so she said she actually ran out of her prayer, like literally ran out of her prayer closet. She said, "I'm kind of freaking out, and I ain't been back in my prayer closet." Get back in there. You gotta get back in there. Trina here. Something happened to Trina when she had started praying in tongues. When she first started praying in tongues, she I mentioned it before. I didn't get in too much detail because I don't think she was here, but she started having out of body experiences that freaked her out. Right? You gotta face them fears. If it's demons or situations, scary situations, it could be past traumas and hurts that you're seeing. When it comes, stop running from it. That means this is the first thing that needs to be dealt with you, right? Even though you can't understand what your tongues are, don't even try and figure it out because you probably won't figure it out. But just know it's speaking directly to what, yeah, Trina said, yeah, don't quit like I did. It's dealing with whatever needs to be dealt with in you. Keep going. Keep going. You ain't gonna physically die. Like if you having panic attacks, you probably just need to stop and breathe, right? And you really shouldn't be having panic attacks. There should be a peace, like Marie said to her, although what's happened to her, like her physical manifestation, whatever, there's a peace in it. There's a peace that she noticed, right? But she just don't understand why like the tears flow the way that they do. Keep going. I wish I could tell you what it was, but I don't know the inner crevices and recesses of your heart and things that only you know, right? But them tongues do, and that's what it's going in, cleaning out It's bringing light to different things. So if you keep going, you will find out what it is. I promise you. I can't sit here and tell you what it is, but I'm telling you, you will know. But you just can't stop. You have to keep going. If you'd have ran out your prayer closet, the one who said that, she didn't hear you. She said, Pam, she said, I literally ran out of my prayer closet and I have not been back. I'm freaking out. I'm gonna reshare the video where I was sharing about my sister and her when things were all hell would break loose around her when she would be praying in tongues. But you gotta get through that, right? It's almost like I like to call it like not necessarily gatekeepers, but I kind of call them gatekeepers because sometimes it hinders people from going any further because it freaks them out. They don't know what's happening. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, keep going. You have to keep going, right? Don't start the healing process and then stop and turn away. Don't do that. Keep going. Just keep going, right? Keep being consistent. You're going to get through that. And it's not going to be that long. I mean, it will depend on exactly what it is because some things will take a little bit longer. Thank you, Ma. I was about to do it. You want it. Some things may take a little longer for some than others, and that's okay, right? The spirit of y'all knows exactly how long you need to stay at a certain point to make sure you're properly healed and cleaned up before you can move on. So you have enough strength to move on. Just the main thing is don't stop. Don't stop. Keep going. Okay. So I respond in a little bit more detail, Marie, to your email a little bit later because I got a few of them to respond to. Okay. The fast God chooses. To understand the kind of fast God chooses, let's take this subject one step forward further and go to Isaiah 58. Is not this the fast I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? Is not is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house? When thou seest the naked, that thou cover him, and that thou hideth not thyself from thy own flesh? That's Isaiah chapter 58, verses 6 and 7. The last phrase of this passage of scripture was the part that I got stuck on. I thought, Lord, what do you mean when you say the fast that you have chosen is that I hide not myself from my own flesh? I wondered if God was talking about the same thing Jesus spoke of in Matthew chapter 6, verses 17 through 18. Quote, but thou, when thou fastest, anoint thy head and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. Or was God making the same point in Isaiah 58:7 as Paul made in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 5, when he addressed the husbands and wives? Okay, Trina, have a good day. Defraud ye not one another, except it be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. Incontinency. Jesus taught about a fast in which we are to wash our faces and go about our daily business, not appearing unto men that we are fasting. Then Paul taught about a fast in which we could lock ourselves away on a mountain, so to speak, giving ourselves completely to fasting and prayer. Both types of fasts are taught in the Bible. But I still wonder what the Lord meant when he said, I am not to hide myself from my own flesh. It took me about 3 years of study and meditation to understand what he was talking about. The day you decide to fast is the day you decide to quit hiding from your own flesh or whatever it is in you that just doesn't care about the lost, the poor, the naked, or those who are cast out of God's house. It's the day you decide to quit hiding from whatever ceiling is in your life, stopping you from operating in God's power. The day you decide to fast is the day you decide to quit running from yourself. Jesus said that demon didn't come out because of your, I'm sorry. Jesus said that demon didn't come out because of your unbelief. He also said that kind only comes out by prayer and fasting. And what does fasting have to do with your unbelief? It executes the position of the flesh. Okay, yeah. It executes the position of the flesh that God has declared. It has no right to dominate you. It has no right to rule over you. When you live a lifestyle of fasting and prayer, there is no operation of the flesh that the devil can lay hold of to destroy your life with. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "The prince of this world comes, and he has nothing in me." John chapter 14, verse 30. Why is that? Because fasting and praying in the Holy Ghost destroy those fleshly works and releases God's power in you. And the moment the operation of the flesh drops below the level of the operation of the Spirit, you receive a new anointing in your life and ministry. And we talked about that a little bit yesterday as well, right? And more specifically about um, we talked a little bit about like the sexual things and some of the sexual sins, so to speak, and to get control over those type of things, you must add fasting to your prayer, right? And once you done built up yourself enough in the fasting and prayer to where you gain more ground than what the flesh has, you can completely destroy it. You just got to build up. You're gonna be seeming like you're going back and forth with this thing, right? You sparring with this thing until you get strong enough. When you get strong enough, that's when you will be able to defeat it, and you will get stronger by adding fasting to your prayers, which will cause things to manifest faster, bigger, and faster. It's almost like um getting out of a car. Like we it's like praying is like driving in a car. But adding fasting to your prayer is like taking a train, right? It's going to get you there quicker and faster, right? So that's what's happening. So when you add fasting onto your prayers and it seems like you about to have a blowout and things are blowing out, it's designed to be that way. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. Like on Transformers, don't freak out. Don't freak out. Keep going, right? Keep going. Prepare for Satan's tactics. As we pray and fast, hiding not from our flesh, we set captives free. Let's look at Isaiah 58, verse 6 again. Quote, "Is not this the fast I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke?" And read again. "Is this not the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke." Often, the first captive that needs to be set free is ourselves. As the flesh is dealt as the flesh is dealt a death blow through fasting, we rise in freedom to walk more fully in the Spirit. Once we grow to a place of greater spiritual maturity, we begin to set others free. Remember, it is at this point that we will draw the devil's attention, right? If y'all think the devil messing with you, things go, hey, listen. Remember, it is at this point, while fasting, adding fasting to your prayer, at this point, remember, it is at this point that we will draw the devil's attention. He doesn't want anyone to be free, and we have become a major threat to his kingdom of darkness. You may ask, aren't you inviting trouble? No, I'm not inviting trouble. I'm anticipating the strategies of Satan. The Bible tells us that when the word is planted in any way, shape, or form, the devil comes to steal it so that it will not produce fruit. Luke chapter 8, verses 11 through 15, i.e., y'all stopping prayer when y'all get to a certain point and things start manifesting, or you literally physically run out of your prayer closet. I'm waiting for her to come in. You run out of your prayer closet because you're freaking out, right? Satan, or i.e., sin, not, you may not necessarily call it sin, but things that have been there, anger, it may not be that you're fearing something. Your anger could start, rising up, or you could start, some church super spiritual people say you manifesting, right? It could be that, and not that you're necessarily manifesting, but you are. You're manifesting those things, or that prayer and fasting is causing those things within you that need to be dealt with to manifest, to show themselves, to rise up to the surface so you can see clearly What's there that you haven't seen before? And when it begins to manifest, when it begins to rise to the surface, the fear, the anger, the anxiety, it's time to be dealt with. But also, let me mention this, although you, depending on how long you've been praying, he talked about it a little bit before, but I'm not necessarily sure that and it could be. I don't know your personal life, but it could be sometime when you're praying, you're fasting. Remember the chapter when we talked about tongues for intercession, where you may begin to feel like you could possibly start manifesting in your body pains and different things, and it may not necessarily, why you have to understand if you switched over into prayers of intercession or if it's still dealing with you. Normally you don't switch over into prayers of intercession and groans where you begin manifesting pains and different things in your body that somebody else is dealing with, right? And you kind of getting a taste, you're being shown spiritually what somebody else is going through, and you just kind of interceding for them. But just starting off, I would venture to say that's not what's happening to you. If that's what's happening to you, I don't think you've quite switched over into prayers of intercession. So it could be that maybe the heaviness of something that you're feeling, it could be just, you just got to kind of check. You got to keep going to see what it is. If you stop, you run out your prayer closet, you never kind of really get into it and see why, whether it's dealing with you or maybe something in your family or somebody else that Yah has you interceding for. You just have to keep going to figure it out, right? So when you begin manifesting certain things, like I give you an example. I was praying, I guess it's been about 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Now, I didn't necessarily manifest in my body, but I saw something, right? I was praying, and at this time I was actually walking through the house, but I was in my zone and I was praying. And all of a sudden I saw a hand in front of me, and it was swollen, like a swollen hand. I'm like, "Ooh." And I looked at my hand. I'm like, "Okay, well, I need to be careful, make sure I don't hit my hand," because I thought it was my hand. But a day later, somebody in my family had an issue, and she took a picture of her hand. And when I saw, I'm like, "Oh, that's the hand I saw while I was praying yesterday." And I thought it was mine, but clearly it wasn't. That's why I say you got to kind of keep going. And sometimes it'll manifest, or y'all show you what you've seen, what you felt in your body. If that pain or what you saw belonged to you, you're going to find out. But if it was intercession for somebody else, you're also going to find out, right? Somewhere down the line, you will find out. And what you saw, what you felt will be connected the moment you run into that, the answer that you were still trying to figure out. Okay, what was this that I saw? They will link themselves together if you don't stop praying. If that makes sense, right? You're just going to know. I just say that's what I'm going through. I haven't been as consistent since the beginning of the month because I've been so frustrated and easily angered. And honestly, I'm not understanding why. Keep going, Renee. Audrey, keep going. Probably got some deep-seated anger issues down up in your shanana, right? Now, and you may be a very pleasant person. I don't doubt that you are, right? But just like me, that was something that I dealt with. Although I'm a very pleasant person, right? I'm a very, very pleasant person. You can tell. But when I started praying in tongues, I could see like little like flickers of anger on the inside of me. And as I got a little bit older, and actually once I began praying in tongues, I realized that little streak of anger, it wasn't a streak of anger. It was like a blazing fire of rage, right? And it really wasn't until I really started praying in tongues where people began to tap that rage button. Beep, 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 right? And I would literally be set aflame. And I'm like, that's not good. Where did that come from? Right? I'm normally pleasant. I really am. Right? I think the best about people. But as I continue to pray, y'all began to help me see how that rage got there, right? So, and he went all the way back, right? Because I'm somebody that I just let things roll off my shoulders like ducks let water run down their back, right? But some things would bother me, but I wouldn't necessarily speak my mind about things. I just go on about my business. Even if it bothered me, sometimes I don't really like to rock the boat, so I just kind of keep it within. And it's just like, whatever. And even though I may really have a problem with something, because I wasn't necessarily a person that liked confrontation. I just like to keep the peace by all means. I won't say anything even if it's burning me up. It used to be that way. I'm a little bit better, but I realize there's a streak of rage. And because it's been it things that have bothered me, I just kind of pushed down for so long. I have to be careful when I deal with things now because I want to just let it fly. I really just want to let it fly sometime. But I realized there was so much anger and fire down there that if I did that at this moment, I could possibly set people ablaze and kill them. I ain't trying to kill nobody. Right. I'm like, oh Father, how do we deal with this? But I don't I as it was coming up, as y'all began to show me just and kind of having me have giving me like flashbacks of different things that happened in my life, whether it was I can remember things from elementary school, middle school, high school, things people said to me, ways that I was treated like I didn't matter in different places. Oh, that's just Pam, not just all of those things. He showed me how it really did affect me. And although I didn't say anything about it, I just kind of, I just laughed, right? My grandma used to say this thing about me, and I would get so ticked with my grandma. I'm like, my laughing is not a mechanism, right? But when I would laugh, clearly she could tell. But I'm like, no, it's not. I laugh because things are funny. But now I can see my grandma has passed away now, but now I can see I'm like, shoot, grandma was right. Right? Because she saw something that I couldn't quite see at the time. And when I would get afraid, I would just kind of laugh stuff off. So all these things was like this concoction of terrible things bubbling down under the ground, ready to explode. And I would cover it up with laughter. Right? Although I love to laugh is like a healing medicine, but some things really needed to be dealt with. But I guess I can say, I don't know, at this point, if I had to do it all over because of the lessons I learned and the things I've gone through, I think I think I wouldn't change a thing. And it didn't destroy my laughter, my sense of humor, but I understand how it can be it could be, laughter is literally like a healing balm. It's like a medicine. Um, but y'all began to show me, the more I stayed in there and prayed, he began to show me different things, just different instances throughout my life, things that happened to me where it really affected me, my emotions. I just kind of pushed it down and act like it didn't bother me, but it was creating a major problem, and that was the source of all the rage that was down on the inside of me. So when I would be praying in tongues, things would piss me off. It would piss me off. Yeah, she saw a lot of things. My mom said she saw a lot of things that we did not think she saw. Yeah, my grandma had some spiritual gifts going on with her, right? She really could. What's that?
You talking about bottled up anger for years. Can y'all help me out, please?
Son, I've been trying to teach you, but you halfway be listening to me. Think I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, okay, you just need time with the wisdom. Well, let's not call it wisdom. You got data and facts at this point. Some has transitioned into understanding, some has transitioned into wisdom, right? But some
Is
things that
data
you
and
still
facts like bad? Because I
no,
don't.
no, no, no. It's just that you're not connecting them together on why you have all this information. It seems like information overload. You don't know what to do with it. So that means time needs to pass before you can see, before the understanding of these data and facts can begin to go together. You can piece it together. When understanding comes, then wisdom will come. But when you just got data and facts and you're frustrated, that means time needs to pass. So some things need to happen. You need to mature. You need to understand certain things, or certain things need to mature develop so you can see. But you got your data and facts early. Now you just need to wait and see
Man.
when to put them together. Yeah, Journey had a great gift, Mom. Go ahead. If you want it, eat it, son. All right, yeah. So Nikki said she was amazing. She was. I miss her so. I'm still dreaming about her a lot. And I'm just paying attention to grandma in my dreams and stuff and what she doing. But what you say?
This is really not pertaining to the at all to the stream. So I'm trying to look for a notebook, like a driver's license notebook.
Mm-hmm.
There's none online that's solid. And they're
Um,
different.
do you want me to just renew the testing thing so you can go through that?
I mean, yeah, I guess because
Okay.
I need something.
I'll renew it for a couple more days.
Starts Friday or is it next Friday?
No, I can start it today.
No, I'm talking about going to the DMV. Is it this Friday or next
No,
Friday?
this Friday. So that's why I said I'll just renew it for a couple more days. Okay. Yeah, so
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, so my grandma had a great gift and she would tell me all the time. But I'm just like, yeah, grandma, you tripping. But I'd be angry, but not angry. But I'm like, oh, woman don't know what she talking about. And I'm going about my business, like roll my eyes to the back of my head. She saw she probably did. Which sometimes why she threw things at me. So I tend to have a smart mouth sometimes. I'm trying to work on that, right? Trying to work on my own spirit, work on my own soul salvation, right? Okay, so um get back to what I was saying. So excuse me. So a lot of times when those things start coming up is it's coming up for a reason. And even though you may not understand why or you don't think you should be dealing with this or you just don't know what's going on, I'm telling you, Yah is very precise and he's a very skillful surgeon, right? And if you don't understand now, keep praying. You will understand soon because it's surfacing. If you're having these frustration, these outbursts of anger and stuff, something is there. Those are the side effects of a deeper lying problem, right? You want to find out what the root of those frustrations and the easily angered and things are, Audrey, right? So I hope that helps. So just like with some of the other things, because people are experiencing different things, talking to them, reading through their emails, I can tell y'all are praying because things are starting to. I'm like, okay, we got some students that's actually doing their homework, and I'm so excited about this, right? I'm like, yes, Father, we can move. So normally when people are actually engaged and actually doing the homework and stuff, we have more to work with. Y'all would give us more revelation, not just me, but also you, because we found like this safe place, so to speak, where we can talk about these things and we can just kind of help one another. We can kind of help one another along, right? It helps me being able to identify and hone in on things, but it also helps you so you can see the roadblocks and things that I've already been through, right? Once you've been set free, go back and help your brethren, right? So it's kind of like that what's going on here. So that's why I really implore y'all, please just don't sit here and listen to me talk. Go test these things and see if what I'm sharing with you is true or not. Go see if I'm a heretic or not, right? Okay, so that way we can move and we can kind of tap into the source of power that the early church had, so to speak.
That's important.
Yeah, I'll give it to your brother. Okay, so let's go back here. Oh,
Can we use you?
okay.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. We can. You can. I don't care. You can take them all and use them whenever you want. So I'm not going to use them. I mean, unless I see something that your dad wants. Yeah, just keep them over there. Put them over there. Okay, y'all. Prepare. I'll just go back up here. Wait. Did I pass all of this? Hold on. No, I don't want to start all the way over. Maybe I should. It wasn't that far. Okay. We just start this section over. Now that I gave like a little example of different things. Okay. Prepare for Satan's tactics. As we pray and fast, not hiding from our flesh, we set the captives free. Let's look at Isaiah 58 and 6 again. Quote, Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? End quote. Often, the first captive that needs to be set free is ourselves. As the flesh is dealt a death blow through fasting, we rise in freedom to walk more fully in the spirit. Once we grow to a place of greater spiritual maturity, we begin to set others free. Remember, it is at this point that we will draw the devil's attention. He doesn't want anyone to be free, and we have become a major threat to his kingdom of darkness. You may ask, aren't you inviting trouble? No, I'm not inviting trouble. I'm anticipating the strategies of Satan. The Bible tells us that when the word is planted in any way, shape, or form, the devil comes to steal it so that it will not produce any fruit. Luke chapter 8, verses 11 through 15, and that's where we pause. So, guys, hold on to the fruit that you're getting. Hold on to it. Don't let it be stole. Don't let it be stole. Don't. I like something that one of my family members say when we had a prayer line, they said, "Don't let the devil steal your milk and cookies." Matter of fact, that's gonna be our title for the day. Don't let the devil steal your milk and cookies. Hold on.
We consider the
Okay. And by devil, meaning those things that don't let the anger and the frustration, uh, uh, incidents from the past that are coming up, don't let that, by them surfacing to the top while you're praying and fasting, don't let them discourage you from keep going before you've manifested your complete healing or your complete regeneration or your complete salvation. Don't let the devil steal your milk and cookies. Don't let Satan steal your miracle. Don't let the bird come eat up your seed that you just planted down in the ground. Keep praying. You covered it really deep. You put barriers around it by continuing to pray and fast. That's how you don't let the devil steal your milk and cookies. Nope, can't have it. Get away. Nope, nope. Keep and watch. Get away, birds. Keep praying and fasting. That's how you keep and hold on to your seed until it breaks through the ground with a deep root system. Keep going. That's the key. Keep going. Okay. You may ask, aren't you inviting trouble? No, I'm not inviting trouble. I'm anticipating the strategies of Satan. The Bible tells us that when the word is planted in any way, shape, or form, the devil comes to steal it so that it will not produce fruit. Luke chapter 8, verse 11 through 15. If we aren't spiritually aware of the devil's tactics, we will have a rude awakening. We will be caught unprepared, and the devil will have a better opportunity to steal from us or from those we love. We aren't in heaven yet. We are living on a planet that has had war declared on it. The devil was thrown out of heaven, and now he is active here on earth. He cannot cause trouble in heaven, so he does his best to cause us trouble here. As long as the devil is active here on earth, the storms will continue to beat down upon our homes, just as surely as Jesus revealed that the storms would come. He also guaranteed that if our house is built on a rock of hearing and doing his sayings, the devil can do nothing to tear that house down. Matthew 7, verses 24 to 27. The enemy isn't power enough. He doesn't have the equipment to force our house off the rock of Jesus Christ, us now knowing what that is as we begin to look within, to look for the kingdom of heaven within us, as we've been talking about the last few days, right? A lot of time when people still read these stories, they're looking at these stories from without. They're trying to see this story manifest on the outside, and it never does. The only thing you can see constantly manifesting on the outside of us is the pain, the turmoil, the way the world is going. It's all going to hell in a handbasket, right? Well, that's a representation of what's going on down here in your lower nature and your lower chakra. You're kept there. You're kept there in the red. And until you begin to deal with it, until you learn how to go inward to deal with the hell on earth, that's when we'll begin to see change in us first. And as we change inward, then the world will begin to change outward, because we humans are the manifestation of all the hell that's going on earth. And we have to change from within. As we change from within and we change what we do here in the physical realm. When people out here that's causing the world to go in disarray, havoc, pushing things that they should not push. That means they are living in their lower nature and is manifesting outward, creating the world we have and the world we see. Just think if everybody had this information, just think about it for a moment. We would literally have heaven on earth overnight because everybody would be tapped in the source of power, and our outward actions will dictate how this world is. There will be no more killing, there will be no more rape, incest, murder. All of these things is because we change. The kingdom of heaven is found within, it's inside of you, right? And once people stop looking outward, looking for the Savior, and go inward and realize that He's been waiting there and He shows up every freaking month for you, right? Every day, every day, every day, He's there, right? But we have to walk through defeating these enemies throughout the land so we can regain the territory, we can regain the promised land, we can regain the land that was promised to us, right? We control everything. As long as the devil is active here on earth, the storms will continue to beat down upon our homes. But just as surely as Jesus revealed that the storms would come, he also guaranteed that if our house is built on a rock of hearing and doing his sayings, the devil can do nothing to tear that house down. Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. The enemy isn't powerful enough. He doesn't have the equipment to force our house off the rock of Jesus Christ. The more that we get a revelation of the entire plan of God, the more victory we're going to have here on earth. The more quickly we come to a place of esteeming the glories of heaven as a greater prize than the temporary short sighted goals of this earthly existence, the more power we will have operating in our lives for the victories in the battles here on this earth. All right, y'all, the next little section is called the missing ingredient, supernatural peace. I didn't understand how all of this worked until several years ago when I fasted and prayed during an extended seeking time. I was looking for the change in my life that would make the difference. I wanted something I could put my hands on. I was waiting for the angels to appear or the heavens to open. Those things didn't happen. But when I came out of the seeking time, I was left with something I was left with something I never had before. I entered into a degree of peace I never knew existed. God put me on the rock to stay. You may ask, didn't you always walk in peace? If you had asked me that before the fast, I would have answered, oh, yes, because I didn't have anything to compare it with. But this new peace was different, it was unshakable. Oh, that's so good, y'all. So good. You got to keep going in your prayer and fasting to get to that point. Like, you think you know peace now, but when you get there, just like he says, like you will say yeah, because you really don't have anything to compare it with, right? There is nothing that can compare to that type of peace, y'all. Those things didn't have, hold on. I was waiting for the angels to appear or the heavens to open. Those things didn't happen. But when I came out of the seeking time, I was left with something I had never experienced before. I entered into a degree of peace I never knew existed. God put me on the rock to stay. You may ask, didn't you always walk in peace? If you had asked me that before the fast, I would have answered, oh, yes, because I didn't have anything to compare it with. But this new peace was different, it was unshakable. This peace felt so good and so strange at the same time. When things seemed to go wrong, I found out that I could enjoy waiting with patience for God's plan to materialize. I could take my responsibility in a situation without taking the care or the burden of it. So, through prayer and fasting, God had caused me to enter into a peace that was a tangible force, keeping me in a position to receive his power. He spoke to my spirit about this peace, saying, this is what you've been looking for. It is the missing ingredient. You see, conditions on this earth aren't going to get better. Jesus told us in Matthew 24 what the last days would be like: wars and rumors of wars, earthquakes, sorrows, persecutions, false prophets, and the love of many waxing cold. The storms of this life are getting more violent. As time goes on, they will rage more and more severely. Fasting and prayer empties us of our fleshly nature and allow God to fill us with his character. As the flesh loses ground, the peace of God can begin to rule in our lives. Colossians chapter 3 verse 15. We climb from one level of peace to another. Our faith becomes greater and greater. All of this is waiting for you and me. We are capable of so much more than merely overcoming the crises of life. Each of us is meant to be a force on this earth for God, and prayer combined with fasting are the power twins that help us attain that goal. And that, my beautiful people, is the end of chapter 13 in the walk of the spirit, the walk of power.
Can I have one, please?
Ask your dad, those are his. Yeah. I mean, anything else up there you can have, but those are his. So you gotta ask him about that. All right, y'all. So and we at an hour mark today, right? So we got two more chapters, chapter 14 and chapter 15. And I think, shucks, I think the hold on, let me check. We got an appendix here, and the appendix 1, 2, and 3. That's gonna probably take another day as well. So we'll be done with this book in a couple days, y'all, and we will move on to our next book called My Big Toe. I'm so excited to start that. Hey, son, Elijah. Hey, son. So once we get there, remember we talked about My Big Toe, and it's giving you a little more of the science of what is happening within you when you go into prayer and meditation or praying in tongues, or some people call it chanting, but it's the same. Excuse me. It's the same thing that's happening, y'all. It's the same thing that's happening. So, don't zonk out on me when he start getting into some of the terms and he tell you some things. He just gonna have to give you the terms for, but just stay with him, right? And there's no, that's book 2. No, it is. If you actually downloaded the if you didn't order a book, I'm not saying you have to because I'm reading it, but I think it's a good reference. If you didn't order the hardback and you downloaded the Kindle, no, not the Kindle because it's inside of the Kindle, but if you download it, if you purchase the Audible, because you're listening to it, what will come with the Audible is some of the graphs and charts that he showed inside the Kindle version, the electronic version, and the book. So when we get to those portions, and if all you have is the Audible, don't forget to download that PDF document that you get with those charts and stuff. Excuse me, it's going to be really helpful. So I'm super excited about that. And he gives the introduction chapter, or is it the preface? Yeah, the preface is pretty long, but I think it's a really, really good preface. You have to read the preface. If y'all are in the habit of reading books by skipping the preface, and some people even skip the introduction as well, they just go right to chapter 1 or skip into the chapter that they want, you're going to miss out a whole lot of information, because he's going to tell you why he says different things. He's going to give you a little bit of his background, so where it'll tie all these things together. So stop skipping the prefaces, stop skipping the introductions, because it's very, very valuable and very important information there, right? So we're going to be going through that for the next few weeks. I'll probably say about 2 months. It's I forget how many pages, definitely over 200, right? But we went through Legends of the Jews, and that was like 400 pages, and we was like in that for like 3 months. I think it took us 3 months to read every page of that book, a little over 400 pages. But yeah, so that's what's coming next. Lisa, shalom. All right, beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. I'm getting tongue tied. My mouth is dry, y'all. Okay, so with that being said, I think Bella is still asleep. She be coming getting in our bed, and I got that grounding mat, and so she be getting really deep rest and sleep. So I ain't gonna wake her up. I let her wake up on her own. Y'all heard me talk about that grounding mat a few days ago. So Machine came down here. Sis is probably still knocked out. I'm gonna leave her alone, right? Because that's some good rest. Some good rest. All right. So the blessing, y'all. Let me think. Did I share everything that I wanted to? Okay, I'm gonna Got that. I said I was gonna share the moon app again, and that second one, that, and I'm gonna post a couple more things. I'm working on the video, um, with the path of the cerebral spinal fluid and how it flows. If you already went looking up chrism oil and the cerebral spinal fluid, you probably come across a lot of videos already that's kind of explaining it. So I'm trying to find the best one that it kind of get right to it, but it's not too long. So I'm working on that so I can post that so you can just kind of be mindful of what's happening inside your body and every single month, and that where that seed, that's born, that seed, the where the chrism oil flows from, that travels up through the chakras or through your spirit, where you it's a physical seed every single month that regenerates itself about the time it starts when you turn about 12 years old, right? Which now I'm understanding more about it. You have different cultures that have different things when the children get to like 12 and 13. That's an outward representation of what's happening inside. And that's when they should begin observing this and understand what's going on with their body. And they should begin that practice of returning that oil back to y'all, or tithing, giving a portion of that oil back to y'all every single month. It's a monthly process, and during that time, every single month at your time, and we'll talk a little bit more about your time. That's why we're getting into the charts, which people call astrology. That's a piece of the puzzle. And if you look at it just by itself, it looks like something mystical, but it's not. It's pieces of the overall bigger puzzle that's been chopped up and that's been spread out throughout all the nations. When you get all those pieces of the puzzle and bring them together, you understand it and you begin. That's what I'm like, let's practice this, y'all. Let's not just talk about it, but the only way you're really going to be able to understand me as we go to this next level is if you do what I've been doing and take this information and put it into practice. You become like the scientist in the lab. Your body is your lab, and you can test it. And you've been given everything you need when you came in here to be the great alchemist, the great alchemist of your life, while Yah is the inward teacher leading you. But because these things have been scattered, just like the people have been scattered, everything, everywhere, everybody took a little piece of the puzzle. Like y'all seen, we mentioned it before. Dana, I'm not sure if Dana's here. Dana mentioned a movie about Raya and the Dragon. If you haven't, it's another Disney movie, but that's a really good. It's a really good representation about what happened, right? The I forget the name of it. I'm gonna be watching it again. It's like this, the source of power, right? And when the nations, it's almost I can really see the story inside the life of Israel, right? And I think Israel would be, with doing Red the Dragon, I'm gonna concentrate more on the tribes of Israel and what happened, and when the piece, the I forget what it's called. It's like this little globe or a ball, crystal ball thing. It was the source of power. But when the nations had split up, the family had split up, the tribes or whatever, they split up, that also split because some of them were jealous that a certain tribe, so to speak, or a certain group of family, they got to hold it within their camp or whatever. Just like it's almost like the priests having the Torah, and they were kind of like the guardians of the Torah in the temple. And then you got some of the other ones that get a little bit just, oh, why you got to do it? We can do it too. Y'all speaks is kind of like that type of thing. And Rare the Dragon, I think, is a really good representation or a good teaching aid to use while doing that. But it's the same thing, like the nations being scattered at the Tower of Babel, everything, pieces scattered, four corners, everybody. We're going to disperse everybody. So everybody got a piece of the puzzle. And because the languages have changed, they're not understanding each other. They're not making a connection. So we have to all bring your piece and come. Bring your piece and come so we can put it together, right? That's when I began to notice that everybody's saying the same thing, but they're speaking a different language. They're using words from their culture, right? Scattered different languages. We're gonna make sure we disrupt y'all. We're gonna take you through a different path. Make sure you understand it fully the right way. But it's gonna take you a little bit of time. Y'all gonna have to learn how to work with one another. Y'all gonna have to decide process of deciphering, understanding one another. You're gonna get a better understanding on why you should work together. And everybody, you know, their piece is needed. So I said all that to say, which is when we look at the astrology charts or whatever, it literally gives you a piece of the puzzle, help you understand the clock in the sky, what's happening in your body monthly, right? And it shows you when your seed is given to you every single month, right? And you literally have to take that seed and make sure you don't destroy your seed before it gets to a certain point, right? You take it and return that seed to y'all. All right. Okay. So we'll get more into that. So that's why we're starting to bring in that astrology piece, so to speak. So don't be put off when you see me post and stuff like that. Okay, babe. So y'all have to be here. If you missed when I was explaining it, the different pieces of it, you're gonna have to go back. Because sometimes just looking at the community post, you still may not get it. That's why I say go watch the video for that day or whichever video I point you to, right? Because it's like we're moving in steps. And if you skip a step and you come in on a step, you kind of like, okay, I'm a little bit lost. That means you need to stop, go back. Just like when you're learning math, if you don't learn how to do a certain step, when you get to an equation, you're not going to work that equation out right, or you're not going to be able to check your answer because you missed a step. You need to learn the order of operations, right? You missed the order of operations. Stop here. Stop trying to work this problem out, because you're going to get a different answer if you work it through like this, to whereas if you understood the order of operations, how you would have worked it out, addition first, then subtraction. People kind of get mixed up between the when you start getting to the multiplication and a division within an equation, they'll flip them around when they should flip it back around, right? To get the proper answer. Because if you get the order of operations wrong, you're going to get a different answer, right? So if you get to the place, okay, I'm lost, stop, go back, find out, go back to your last place of comprehension, right? Where, okay, I get that, okay, this is where I'm kind of fuzzy. Start there and then go back and begin to walk through again, then catch back up with us, right? So that's why I'm trying to leave as many resources as possible, because I know some people just kind of jumping in like right in the middle. Okay, I'm confused, go back, y'all. I'm trying to leave a path that is clear as possible with all the resources and everything, so everybody be able to follow the path no matter where they're at, right? It should be clean. I'm moving all the everything I possibly see, and you know and now that we're getting more people active and we're actually interacting with one another, it's going to bring another level of path clearing for the people that are coming behind us, right? Because some people going to come in and we're going to be all the way up here. When you come in here, like, what in the world is they? You're not going to be able to understand. You got to grow. It's like the time that babies take to understand. You go through the different stages of life. It's that same thing, right? So I just kind of want to remind y'all about that. So if you get stumped, go back to your last place of comprehension. Um, Send me an email if need be, or ask a question. Don't be afraid to ask a question. I like what some teachers say. There are no stupid questions, right? So yes. Oh yeah. Stop skipping the intro and the preface. My mom said I learned this with the Sefer. Yes, and I did a couple. I talked quite a bit about the intro and the preface of the Sefer. I learned a lot. When I got a Sefer, that's when I started going checking all other Bibles. I'm like, by golly, this has been in our face the entire time. Nobody reads the intro and the preface of Bibles, because they tell you, hey, we changed some terms around here. We changed the real name of God. We gave him a general term, right? All of that stuff is found in the preface and the introduction of Bibles. Yo, reading is fundamental to your life. Okay, y'all. I'm gonna share all that stuff. So today it is Wednesday, y'all. January the 5th, 2022, day 346 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 1014, 1014. We read 4th Maccabees, chapter 4 and 5, and we finished chapter 13 of the walk of the Spirit, the walk of power. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do this blessing, because Bella is knocked out. Okay. Remember, ladies, I'm gonna respond to y'all emails a little bit later today. Okay, but I just kind of gave you some information so you can just kind of keep going. I, give you some working information. That's when it come down to it, you just got to keep going with what you're running to. You got to keep going. All right, which is probably why we ain't been able to finish chapter uh this chapter all at once, because of some of the experiences some of you guys are having, and some of the questions and some of the things I've added in, and you're kind of running into it. It gave us like this time for some things to actually activate and you to experience some things. It gave you some little experience, I guess, what you call it, I guess experiment time, so to speak, so things can kind of set in before we move on. Okay, so hopefully everybody's being active, doing their homework, praying. Add some fasting in when you're ready. You don't have to jump right into water. I mean, unless you want to, you the real G, right? But begin to build yourself up, practice it, right? And so we should all, especially when that seed is being given to us again, everybody should be fasting at least once a month for 2 to 3 days. If you don't fast at any other time or any other length, one time a month, depending on what month it is, you should be fasting 2 or 3 days, right? At the least. Okay. And we'll begin to understand why, as we understand the charts and the sky and how your birth sign, all this stuff goes together. It's nothing spooky, it's nothing mystical. But you got to test it to see the wisdom in it and the proof of it. They just change the name of terms, and they just call it stuff to keep you away from it, right? That's how wisdom and knowledge is hidden in plain sight. They change names, they do stuff because they can't get rid of it. But those that begin to practice it or stumble upon it by going into the mystical arts or the occultic stuff, you find out stuff that they label occult and how they describe it. It's not really that at all. It's like really true. Like, how could this be labeled occultic? Some things are. I ain't talking about this people getting there doing devil worship and stuff, because you got that too. But that is not what I'm talking about. That is absolutely not what I'm talking about. But all right, y'all. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us, presenting gifts, and will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. All right, beautiful people. I love y'all. I will see y'all back here tomorrow morning. Bright and early, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be on the lookout in the community section for a few things today. All right, y'all. Peace.